Good afternoon. Welcome back to Football League World TV. We've got another EFL Transfer Zone show for you today. As I mentioned on yesterday's EFL Transfer Zone, we're going to be broadcasting one of these shows at 4 o'clock every single day this week as we edge closer to next week's January transfer deadline day. My name is Sam Rourke, the Chief Editor of footballleagueworld.co.uk, and I'm joined by Ben Wignall and Chris Gallagher. Ben, how are you getting on this afternoon, mate?
Yeah, all good, Sam. Hopefully no more dog invasions this afternoon like we did yesterday and what we've seen like for most of the week. A lot of transfer news happening in the last 24 hours. We're still building up to that deadline next week, aren't we? So all looks like some exciting stuff to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. And Chris, how are you getting on?
Yeah, not bad. Yeah, I think there's going to be still a lot of clubs who need to do a lot of business, so it should be a very busy few days ahead.
Yeah, definitely feels like it, doesn't it? We are broadcasting live on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. So make sure to get yourself in the comments. We will discuss your comments live on this show. We're going to be talking about an array of done deals and transfer rumours have been floating about over the last day or so. So let's get straight into it. Okay, we're actually going to start down in League Two. Swindon Town have completed the signing of Josh Davison on loan from Charlton Athletic. He scored 2 goals in 15 League One appearances for Johnny Jackson's side this season. Has got experience of playing in League Two. Did enjoy a stint at Forest Green Rovers. Ben, Swindon were kind of rocked by the news that Tyree Simpson was recalled by Ipswich Town. He's been a prominent figure in terms of their goal-scoring output this season. That was a big blow. So I think a new striker was an essential bit of business for Ben Garner's side. What do you make of the addition of Davinson?
Well, he's got League Two experience, hasn't he? He came in Forest Green last season. I think he was at Woking in the National League before that, and obviously he's kind of progressed from the loan spells of National League, League Two, and he's featured in League One a bit this season. But I think from what I've seen and read, I think Charlton fans think he was being a little bit, out of his depth, kind of, playing next to Stockley when he played, both kind of physical strikers, big strikers. He didn't really get too many goals for Forest Green last season. I think it was 3 goals. So I think for him to come in and have the impact that Tyree Simpson did, I think he's got a lot, pressure on his shoulders, kind of, deliver that kind of output, so to speak. But I still think for a League Two team, he was in a promotion chasing team last year with Forest Green. I think he can come in and do, pretty well for Swindon. I don't think he'll be a prolific scorer, but, recently Harry McCurdy's been the man to get the goals. And I think Davison could be a striker that occupies defenders, whilst McCurdy, has that little bit of class to, put the ball away and take men on. So I think it could be a good signing, not particularly for goal scoring purposes, but, as an all-round kind of striker to take the edge off McCurdy. I think he could be a good one.
Yeah, like you say, kind of Harry McCurdy's kind of taken the burden of goal scoring on his shoulders this season. He is the Robins' top goal scorer in League Two so far this campaign. What do you think Josh Davinson can add to that Swindon side, Chris?
Well, the hope will be goals because we touched on Simpson's departure, but as with Ben, I have the same sort of concerns that you look at his record and he's not the most prolific. I think you've always got to be wary when you judge young players, because these loan spells last year, like when you're 20, 21, you're still developing as a player. So it's hard to write him off. But I think this is a good move for him to get minutes to play every week. And it's now down to, he's got to show that he can score goals. Whether he will remains to be seen. But I think Swindon, as you said, the Simpson news was a real setback for them, so they've acted quickly, and now it's down to there's a lot of hope on the new signing, but it's now down to Davinson to deliver.
Yeah, we know Swindon like to operate with 2 up top, so you'd imagine he's going to go straight in alongside Harry McCurdy in Ben Garner's starting 11, you'd imagine. Just judging by the Charlton Athletic responses on social media, they seem quite happy to see him offloaded on loan until the end of the season. They'll be keen to keep a keen eye on him as we progress through the season. Please do get in touch in the comments. Addicts fans, what do you make of the departure of Josh Davinson? Swindon fans, are you excited to see what you're going to see from the striker? Right, let's touch on some more news now. Let's move back up to the Sky Bet Championship. Reading have completed the signing of Carl Hine on loan from Arsenal, 19-year-old Estonian international, arrives at the Select Car Leasing Stadium to provide competition to Luke Southwood, who's been the main man in between the sticks over the last few months. The Royals did let go of Raphael in this January transfer window. He departed back to Brazil. So Carl Hahn is going to provide some competition to Southwood, who has come under some scrutiny over the last few weeks, made a handful of errors that have led to goals for the opposition. Judging by the Reading kind of reaction on social media, a lot of them were quite surprised by this deal, given they recall Jokal Andersson and James Holden, two young goalkeepers, back to the club in this window. A lot were surprised that goalkeeper wasn't necessarily where Reading needed to add in this window. Ben, what did you make of this one?
Well, I think the recalls of Holden and Anderson, I think that might have just been done as a precautionary measure. Raphael going back to Brazil, and with this signing, I think they could probably not go back out on loan. But I think we were just speaking before we came on air, before Southwood has started making a few mistakes, whether it's letting in kind of simple shots or dropping crosses. It's kind of crept into his game a little bit, and a new keeper does bring a bit more competition, and it does give him an incentive to up his game. But I'd be shocked if Hine doesn't come in as a immediate first choice, because Arsenal, I think I read a report saying Arsenal wanted him to get first team football, and he'd only sanctioned a deal if he got first team football at Reading. So I can see him coming straight in to that side. And even though he's a young lad, he's got 12 caps for Estonia. So for a player that age of international experience, he must have something about him, and big tall lad, so he's going to provide a bit more of assurance from crosses that Southwood maybe doesn't. So I think it's an understandable signing from Reading. It's just a case of if they have to play him, then Paunovic, you might not have the choice. If Arsenal, they may not such make you play him, but they might, these Premier League loans, you can't have like fines, financial penalties if you don't play him. So that could be a bit of an issue, but he's definitely some competition for Southwood now.
Yeah, like you say, he's a big lad, 6'4". He's a real big frame in between the sticks. Like I say, made 12 appearances for the Estonian national team, featured in several qualifiers. I remember watching him against Wales, and he produced a string of really impressive saves. Chris, just finally then on this deal, do you think it's like Ben says, it's good for Luke Southwood to have some form of competition to kind of potentially kind of buck up his performances and improve what's been a kind of unsteady few weeks for him?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I think it helps all players when you've got real competition for your place. But I think for Reading here, the main thing is about themselves, and they're letting in too many goals. And obviously, you can't put all the blame on the goalkeeper, because we know they've got a lot of defensive problems. But sometimes just even changing the goal, it can switch the organisation. Just talking just might make a difference. And as you say, the new lad from Arsenal is coming in with good pedigree, with coming through at Arsenal and playing for Estonia. So it is, it'll push Southwood on if he plays, and he knows one mistake and he will be dropped. So yeah, I think it's a good move for Reading.
Yeah, Reading fans, get yourself in the comments. What do you make of the addition of Carl Hine? Would you like to add anyone else in the remaining days of this transfer window? Please do let us know. Let's touch on Jordan Hugill's situation at West Bromwich Albion. It's been revealed that Norwich won't be recalling the player in this January transfer window from his loan spell at the Hawthorns. It's been an underwhelming stint so far for the forward in the Midlands with West Brom. 1 goal in 20 appearances so far. It has been revealed that Millwall are among a cluster of clubs keeping tabs on his situation as we approach Monday's deadline. Ben, we've just learnt today about Daryl Dike's injury, set to be out for up to 8 weeks, a major blow. He's going to miss 11 games for West Brom. Does this potentially give Jordan Hugill a chance of getting himself back into 11, or do you think his chances of first-team football at West Brom are all but over right now?
I've got to think they might be still over. I think the fact that they're looking, according to the local reporters, that they for a loan player to kind of replace Dyke for the next few months and provide more competition when he does return from injury. I think that suggests that Hugill still probably doesn't have a chance of playing. I'm not sure why Norwich won't be recalling him, considering there does seem to be other Championship interest. But yeah, I think Hugill's probably days are numbered at West Brom. It won't be good for a lone player just to be sitting on the sidelines and not getting minutes. But I think Ismail, before the DK injury, made it pretty clear that, in not so many words, that Hugill, wouldn't be getting much game time, if any, between now and the end of the season. It's kind of an unfortunate situation because we know he can score goals at Championship level. He's done it for both Preston and QPR, got double figures for both teams in seasons gone by, but just doesn't seem to have clicked at West Brom, and I can't really see him getting many more minutes between now and May.
Yeah, just finally then on this, Chris. I mean, if you're Jordan Hugill, you must be incredibly frustrated with how this season has gone so far, and the fact that your parent club don't seem to be considering a potential recall will further add to that. What do you make of the situation with Jordan Hugill, Chris? Do you think Norwich really should recall him and move him to a club where he is going to get some action?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because I think Ismail does seem the type of manager, once he's made his mind up on you, that's it. And it doesn't look as though Hugill is going to be in his plans. But cool, I think they're playing Preston tomorrow, and then they've got a game at the weekend, so you never know if he comes off the bench and does score. Things can change very quickly, but yeah, it does look unlikely. And the fact he's already talking about wanting to replace DK with a loan signing suggests again his mind's made up. So yeah, from Hugill's perspective, you'd just be pushing to get out of there. You wonder from Norwich, it's probably maybe financial. You can't imagine the Millwalls or Hulls, or maybe Hull now, but they can pay the same sort of wages or cover the same amount as West Brom. So from Norwich's perspective, they won't want to give themselves a hit, so they might just want to leave him there, like he's not their problem, kind of, so to speak, now. So, yeah, I think it's West Brom might have to arrange something if they can get someone in to push him out. But, yeah, it's not looking good for Hugill. It did seem a transfer that suited him. There's the style of play and everything. It looked as though he'd be a hit at West Brom. But, yeah, the fans don't like him. And I think, a move would suit all parties this month.
Yeah, Millwall and Hull City continue to monitor Jordan Hugill's situation at West Bromwich Albion as they look to add to their attacking arsenal in this window. Huddersfield Town are in talks to sign ex-Chelsea goalkeeper Jamal Blackman in this transfer window. He is now a free agent after leaving MLS side LAFC earlier on in this window. Lee Nichols is firmly the number one at the John Smith Stadium right now. He's had a really fine season for Carlos Corberan's side, recording 10 clean sheets so far this campaign. Ryan Schofield is the number two at Huddersfield Town, but there have been question marks over his ability to operate consistently in the second tier. He has shown several kind of occasions of making a handful of mistakes, but Jamal Blackman is someone that the Terriers are keen to add. Ben, let's come to you then. We've seen Blackman in the second tier in the EFL numerous times, notably with Rotherham United. What do you make of this particular piece of transfer news?
I think it would be a good addition if they can get him signed up. I think, Schofield, when he has played this season, has made, a few errors, and that's when Lee Nichols, came into the squad as first choice. But I think there's clearly, a talent there in Schofield. He's, been capped at 3 different, England youth levels. And I think an EFL loan to either League 1 or 2 could be, quite a good for him if they can, tie Blackman up to a deal. Like I said, he's got Championship experience, Blackman, and he's played in the MLS for the last few months of 2021. So, he sets a decent standard. He's got that, pedigree coming through the Chelsea academy. And I think he's someone who could end up pushing Nichols for a starting spot. I know Nichols is, in pretty good form right now for him. But I do think Blackman's a pretty solid keeper. He's got a lot of size to him, quite tall. So, I think he could provide some really good competition to Nichols if they can get a signature down, and if I think he's trading with him, the reports there. So I think they must be pretty confident that he can get a deal over the line.
Yeah, it strikes me as quite a low risk move if this deal does come to fruition, especially in terms of the finances as well. I don't expect it to be too much in terms of wages. Chris, what do you make of this one?
Yeah, I'd probably echo what Ben said there. I think I'd try and get Schofield out on loan as well, because he has made mistakes, but again, he does have decent pedigree coming through. So I think he just needs to go somewhere where maybe there isn't as intense a spotlight on him, so he can just play regularly and try and develop as a keeper. But Huddersfield obviously need cover for Nichols. So yeah, I think in Blackman they're getting a very reliable keeper, someone who's knows the league. It's not yeah, no risk, low risk move, and yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense for Huddersfield.
Huddersfield Town fans, get yourself in the comments. What do you make of the potential arrival of Jamal Blackman in this January transfer window? Please do let us know. Some big EFL news emerging this afternoon with regards to Cardiff City striker Kieffer Moore. It sounds like AFC Bournemouth are really pressing ahead to get a deal concluded for the 29-year-old Welsh international in this window. Scott Parker's made it no secret that he wants to add another forward to the Bournemouth squad, with Dom Solanke really the only kind of main outlet in terms of goals up front for Bournemouth. Kieffer Moore's not had the best season, given his standards over the last few seasons. Only 5 goals for the Bluebirds this campaign. Ben, let's come to you first. What do you make of this from a Bournemouth perspective? Because we know what Kieffer Moore can do at this level. It sounds like potentially a really good deal, this, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think it depends what price, Bournemouth might be getting in for it. I think he's kind of more of, a plan B striker, looking at, how the way that Scott Parker likes playing it. He likes to play on the floor and, through the channels as well. And Solanke's not really a striker that will end up, getting his head onto things. He's not a physical striker. He's someone who likes to play on the last man and score like that. Obviously, Kieffer Moore's a completely different striker. That he gives you a physical element at the top end of the pitch. I just don't see where he fits in from a starting perspective. If he's going to continue playing, 4-3-3, a lone striker with 2 kind of wide forwards. I don't think Solanke will, go out wide, and we'll talk about another player in a minute who might be coming to Bournemouth. So there's going to be a lot of options out wide and only one real striker playing. So it's a bit of a strange one to me. They're going to end up having to pay a lot of money. I think the value at the start of the month was around 10 million. Whether Cardiff get that due to his recent form, I'm not sure. If this was a summer, then a 28-year-old Moore just played at the Euro, scored 20 goals in the Championship. It's definitely worth it. But for a team like Bournemouth, I know they're chasing promotion and trying to, strengthen with proven Championship players, but it's going to be a very expensive deal, I think, for someone who's probably not guaranteed to, be starting every week due to Solanke's, form and general play. So I'd be a bit wary about this one. I know he's not got good form this season, 5 goals, but I think the loss of Harry Wilson's, creative presence at Cardiff to go to Fulham's a big miss from that. He supplied a lot of Moore's goals last season. So yeah, he's a very good player at Championship level, Moore, but I'm just not sure he's going to be suited to Bournemouth's system for me.
Yeah, I mean, it would be a real contrast if he did sign, given the way that Bournemouth do play with a very fluid front three. Chris, I mean, the talk is kind of £8 to £10 million is a sort of figure that Cardiff City would kind of consider moving Kieffer Moore on for. Could you see Scott Parker kind of changing that 4-3-3 formation if Kieffer Moore did arrive? Because he has stood by that, considerably, a considerable amount this season, hasn't he?
Yeah, I don't think he would initially, but I think they've lost 4 of the last 6, haven't they? So you have to start thinking about changing some things. I think with Moore's arrival, it would more be the depth. I think they've got Solanke, and then you could play low up front, but he's not a natural number 9. So they need a striker, really. It's like they've been fortunate that Solanke has stayed fit for so long. So it's just about getting a backup, and then if it's down to Moore, then if he is the man, to show that the system should be changed, or that he should get more opportunities. So yeah, I actually do think it'd be a good signing. I agree with Ben, you might have to pay a bit more, but I think Bournemouth's results in the last few weeks have been quite alarming, and it's shown that the lack of depth is a problem. So I think that it looks as though they are going to make a few moves before the deadline, and a striker has to be the priority. And I think Moore would bring a lot to the team if he does join.
Yeah, just from a Cardiff City perspective, the noises coming out from the Cardiff City Stadium suggest that this kind of move was always in the pipeline. They kind of felt that it was inevitable that Kieffer Moore would depart at some point in this January transfer window. Ben, I'll come to you. How do you think Cardiff City will cope without Kieffer Moore? Do you think they've got enough options up front with the likes of James Collins and Max Waters to cope?
I don't particularly think it'll be enough. I think after the initial bounce that Steve Morrison had, I think, results have kind of, tailed off. I think obviously Collins has got goals for Luton at this level, but I wouldn't see him as the, focal point of a Cardiff team that looks to be going towards kind of a younger kind of setup. Morrison managed the under-23s. He's brought the likes of, Mark Harris in to play a, more crucial role. Ruben Colwell, Isaac Davis, amongst others. I think they would need another player up there. I think Max Waters as well is another one that's unproven. He scored against Bristol City at the weekend. He could, be a bit more of a figuring striker for him, but I think they would need a replacement for Moore, whether that's a Premier League loan here, which is a route they're seemingly going down this month, with Drama and Doyle and perhaps Giles coming back, or if they go down to the lower leagues or Scotland to get another striker. But if Moore goes, I think they definitely need a replacement.
Yeah, I think a lot of Cardiff City fans are obviously gutted to potentially see Kieffer Moore go, but given the financial situation that Cardiff City find themselves in, would probably welcome £8 to £10 million in the coffers in this January transfer window. Bluebirds fans, get yourself in the comments. What do you make of the Kieffer Moore situation? Are you disappointed to see him go? And Cherries fans, would you welcome the addition of Kieffer Moore in this window? Please do let us know. Keeping on the topic of AFC Bournemouth, they are really pushing ahead to try and conclude a deal for Derby County attacker Tom Lawrence. Lawrence, obviously the club captain at Derby County, has enjoyed a real fine season for Wayne Rooney's charges. It's believed that the Rams do want a significant fee up front from AFC Bournemouth if they are to sanction the exit of Tom Lawrence in this window to AFC Bournemouth. Ben, I mean, we've spoken about Bournemouth a lot already on this show. Do you think Tom Lawrence would be a useful addition to what Scott Parker's got going on there?
I definitely think so. Yeah, I mean, he can play in a number of different positions. He can play all across that kind of attacking midfield three, and he can potentially even play as a striker. And I think Ryan Christie's playing off the right instead of a kind of a number 10. But they've got a lot of options, to be fair. They've got Jaden Anthony, Law, Morgan Rogers for the left-hand side. I think that's a lot of options to have. But, I think when Lawrence is on his game, he's a proven top-level championship player, and he's most dangerous cutting in onto that right foot from the left. And that's a position where they have got a lot of options. So I think they've got enough depth, but do they have do those three players that I mentioned have the kind of quality, consistent that Lawrence has? I'm not quite sure. He'd be on a decent wage at Derby, and Bournemouth would have to pay something similar to that. But I think for a player who's only got 5 months left on his contract, I don't think it'd take a massive fee to get him out of Derby, especially with the situation they're in. I know he's a key player for them, and he scored 8 goals this season. But I think you have to look at a bigger picture at Derby and think that maybe a low 7-figure fee might take it to sell him, maybe to the 2 million mark. But I think he would definitely be an interesting and good addition to what Bournemouth is trying to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Tom Lawrence with bags of quality, able to create and score goals on a consistent basis. Chris, would you view Tom Lawrence as a guaranteed starter in that AFC Bournemouth team right now, or do you think he'd have to bide his time a little bit?
No, I think he'd get in on the left initially, and then as Ben touched on, they've got a lot of options there. But I think he's ahead of Anthony and Rogers at the minute in terms of his experience and how he could make an impact on the team. So yeah, I think he will get in straight away, and then he'd have to obviously play well. Again, we spoke about having competition for places. That's what all managers want, and Parker would have it with if he does get Lawrence in. And then, as he said, he can cover a few positions. So yeah, this would be a very good signing, I think. And yeah, with Bournemouth's situation now, they aren't in a position where they need to take risks. They need to get someone to help them over the line. That's how you're going to look for proven championship players. And Lawrence has shown this season that he's very, very good at this level.
Yeah, absolutely. Would add some, real impressive depth into that Cherries 11 if he did arrive in this January transfer window. As ever, Cherries fans, get yourself in the comments. What do you make of the potential addition of Tom Lawrence in this January transfer window? Get yourself in the comments. Let's move to League One. Sheffield Wednesday are among a cluster of League One clubs keeping tabs on QPR centre-back Connor Masterson. Masterson enjoyed an impressive stint at Cambridge United in the first half of this campaign. Again, it's no secret that Wednesday want to add in the centre-back department. They have already signed Jordan Storey on loan from Preston North End. But given the kind of injury crisis that the Owls currently have, they're keen to add some more depth in that particular area. Ben, I'll come to you. What do you make of this potential deal for Masterson?
It's an interesting one, purely because, the amount of loans that, Sheff Wednesday have got. I think you can only have 5 in a match day squad, and if Masterson does get added to that, along with, the signing that we'll talk about in a minute, that's 8 players that they've got now, and unless a few of them are going to get terminated, I think that, Lewis Gibson's injured, Lewis Wing, Canberry and Shadip haven't played a lot in recent weeks, then it's a lot of loan players, carrying a squad. But defence is a place where they do need to beef up a little bit. Gibson's been injured since October, so is Iorfa. They still played Marvin Johnson in a back 3 on Saturday against Oxford, and I think Story will probably go straight in there for the next game, but they still need more at the back to cope with these injuries. And Masterson's a player with championship experience with QPR and League One experience with Cambridge, so I think it would be a solid side. He doesn't do anything flashy. He's just a kind of solid, gritty centre back, and that's something that Sheff Wednesday need. They've got the creative presences, out wide and up front. They just need some solidity at the back, as evidenced by that 3 goals conceded against Oxford at the weekend. So I think if they can get him over the line, I know there's League One interest, the likes of Fleetwood and Crewe are also watching him, but I think if it's just Masterson's choice between those 3 teams, I think you're picking Sheff Wednesday every day of the week.
Yeah, Fleetwood among the clubs named as being interested in Masterson in this window. Chris, what do you make of this from a Wednesday perspective? Like Ben alluded to, Wednesday do have a lot of loan players in right now, don't they? But what do you make of this one? There is a need to add, defensive reinforcement still, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm not sure about Sheffield Wednesday's recruitment in the last 2 windows. It's been bizarre, hasn't it? There doesn't seem to be any thinking about it. They just seem to sign players, yeah. And I think they obviously need defenders, so that's the priority. All the fans will tell you that. I think it's 11 goals conceded in the last 4 games, so they've got clear problems at the back. I'm not too convinced on this. I think Masterson is a decent player, but I think if you look at the clubs, he's been at Cambridge and then Fleetwood and Crewe you mentioned, they're all like lower set bottom half sides. I think that maybe is his level. So I think Sheffield Wednesday were linked with Danny Bart before he went to Sunderland, and that would have been a real statement sign, a real improvement. And I think maybe it's the name of the club. I think that's where they should be aiming, a bit higher up in the Championship, if they can get those sort of players to drop to League One. So yeah, in terms of they obviously need defenders, but I do think they should be aiming a little bit higher.
Definitely a situation to keep tabs on over the next few days. Connor Masterson's future at Queen's Park Rangers. Right, final story of this EFL Transfer Zone show. We're going to stay on the topic of Sheffield Wednesday. They completed a signing today, the addition of Tyrese John Jules on loan from Arsenal. The striker spent the first half of this campaign at Blackpool, made 11 appearances, failed to register a goal though for the Tangerines. Able to operate as a lone striker or on the left wing. He reunites with Darren Moore after they both spent time when they were at Doncaster Rovers together. John Jules scored 5 goals under Darren Moore at Donny, so a player that Moore knows well and could well get the best out of at Hillsborough. Ben, what do you make of this one?
It's an interesting one because they've got a lot of players, in them. He plays 3-5-2 now more, and he's got a lot of players in that position. Lee Gregory, Windass, Berahino, Canberry, so and Patterson. That's a 6 options, and now John Jules makes it a 7th. So I think he's going to have to, prove a lot in training to try and get into that starting 11. But with Moore knowing him from Doncaster, he knows what he can do. And, I think I did read the Blackpool fans saying that he didn't really look interested when he was up there for the first half of the season, didn't really get into games. But, going back to playing under a manager who knows what he's about might, get the best out of him. He can put an arm around and give him a bit more confidence, and, the goals might flow. And I think we know how attacking this Sheffield Wednesday team can be. They had about 22, 23 shots against Plymouth the week before last. So put him in that team, he could get a few goals. Just depends which Sheffield Wednesday team turns up. But I do think this is a good side. And obviously, they've got to, navigate a way around the 5 loans in a match day squad and see how that works out. But I definitely think he adds something potentially different to what they've got up front already.
Yeah, as I mentioned, he can operate, out on the left or through the middle as a striker. Given that Darren Moore often plays with 2 up front and utilises wing backs more often than not, Chris, do you expect John Jules to be a player that's kind of utilised in that kind of central striking role?
Well, you never really know with Moore, do you? He can do what he wants, but yeah, I would say so mainly, yeah. But as we've touched on, there is a lot of competition, so yeah, it'll be interesting. In terms of looking at the players in the squad, you'd expect maybe 1 or 2 departures before the end of the window, so you don't really know. But yeah, perhaps the only positive to this signing is the Moore connection from Doncaster, because that means he does know what he's about, and he's obviously, you'd presume, pushed for this signing, and if he has done, you'd expect he's got a clear plan in mind, and you would imagine that is down the middle. So yeah, he can score at this level, so it'll be interesting to see how he goes. But yeah, it's going to be difficult for Moore to manage all these players that he has got, because whether it's going to be a tweak in formation or what, because they lost Theo Corbenu through using players out of position, and that could impact them, and not only for their team, but for he went to MK Dons, obviously. So it's going to be difficult to manage this, and it'll be interesting to see how it works.
Yeah, like you say, there's lots of competition in them attacking areas now at Sheffield Wednesday with the addition of John Jules. It will be interesting to see how Moore utilises the players at his disposal. Right, well, that concludes today's episode of the EFL Transfer Zone here on Football League World TV. As I mentioned at the top end of the show, we're going to be broadcasting one of these Transfer Zone shows every single day at 4 o'clock. So make sure to come back and view this. Make sure to drop a like on this video if you're watching on YouTube, and do subscribe if you are new. We do welcome all the new subscribers that come and join us here at Football League World TV. Just looking ahead to tomorrow, we've got another busy, packed schedule of EFL content on the channel. First of all, we're going to be taking a look at Mark Bonner's Cambridge United and their impressive spell in League One. Then we've got a Millwall fan debate. And then after that, we've got another debate. We're going to be looking at 3 Championship players whose future remains uncertain as we approach the deadline. And of course, at 4 o'clock tomorrow, we've got the EFL Transfer Zone once again. But from myself, Ben, and Chris, we shall see you soon.